He really was. He loved parties. He loved music. And he loved people. And he loved his family. I miss my dad. I miss him a lot. I feel sad. But that's a good thing. It's a real good thing. For a man to come in, and when he's gone, to leave a great void behind with all the people that he loved, with all his family, and all the folks that he touched in his life. And this place is full. And thank you all for coming. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to be missed. And it's okay. It's okay for me to hurt. It's okay for Mom and Sue and Steve and Philip. It's okay. As we do, it's okay for you too. And Mom and Sue and Steve and Philip asked me to say a few words today. Philip, Steve, Mom. And it's an awesome responsibility to come up here and spend a few minutes and just kind of capturing my dad's life. And to share with it some of the things that I think are important. And a few years ago, it's been many years ago, I asked Dad, I said, Dad, what's the most important thing? Trying to get a feel for it. Because Dad was more of a guy who would show you the way instead of tell you what to do. And Dad said, and he probably said this to many of you, the two most important things are love your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love your neighbor as you would yourself. And I said to myself, that's right. That's the way he is. For some reason, it was easy for him to love people. And he really and truly did love them. And I would find myself over the course of my life, particularly when I'm praying, using a selfish prayer. Lord, if you do this for me, I'll do that. And do this for me, do that. And I catch myself thinking about Dad because I don't believe he ever had a selfish prayer in his life. If you ever listen to him say grace, in there was, let us always be mindful of the needs of others. Always. And it always shocked me. I said, oh, others, that's right. But that's the way Dad was. That's the way he was. And you all know that. There's probably not a girl or a lady or a female of any age in this room that he hadn't run up to, hugged, and kissed. Big kiss, big hug. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have the nerve to do what he did, you know. Steve and Philip and I would bring our girlfriends home and up he'd run, hug them and kiss them. It's happened to both my sisters-in-law and my wife. She said the first time I ever met your dad, he comes running up, gives me a big hug and kiss. Hello, darling. She said, whoa. What's going on here? But that's the way he was. And that's the way he generated instant love. And as you know, that's what was in his heart. He kissed the girl. Dad gave something to us that no one else could give. And that was himself. He was there. He was present. He was always there for you. And nobody else could give you what he did. And he did it, and he did it, and he did it. And it was a way to live, and a way that I admired so much. He gave himself to others. Now his family, oh my God. Dad loved his family. He loved to party. We had parties. Every time I turn around, we're going to have a party. Well, who's invited, Dad? You act like you didn't even hear what you said. If you said, are the kids invited? He'd think that must be a rhetorical question. That's ridiculous. Everybody comes to all his parties, all the time. Dad's best friends in the world were his family. His uncle, my Uncle Kinlaw, his brother Kinlaw, loved to go fishing. Well, Dad would go fishing. My Uncle Frank, Dad's brother Frank, loved to go hunting. Dad would go hunting. My Uncle Robert, Dad's brother Robert, loved to golf. Dad would go golf. My Uncle Harry, Dad's brother-in-law, loved to tinker on machines. Dad would tinker on machines. My Uncle Jim, Dad's brother-in-law, loved doing it all. And they would do it all together. Dad had the brothers I've mentioned, and he had two sisters. One, Ida, who's there together today, and one is Aunt Mary, who's here today. And Aunt Mary, in the last few years of his life, when he would talk about you, he would get a certain look in his eye. And he would say to me, my sister, Mary. I'm like, Dad, I know what Mary is. It was always my sister, Mary. Oh boy, he loved us kids. And we went everywhere together. He would take his family, my two brothers and my sister, everywhere. Never went anywhere without him. Vacation. We go on vacations together. He came home and he says, we're going to Colorado. I say, oh man, Dad, that's fantastic. And we're going to camp? That's wonderful, Dad. And we're going by car? We're all going in one car. Well, what a great adventure. What a great adventure. I'm telling you, the Griswolds had nothing on us. We'd go right across the country. Well, and we all had jobs, and we were expected to do those jobs, and we did those jobs. We'd pull up to a campground, and Steve and I would get out the tent. Sue would help Mom get out the food. Dad would get out the poles, and little baby angel, Philip. Philip had to do something because Steve and I wouldn't stand for anything else, so baby angel would get out the stakes in the tent. He'd just lay the stakes around. And then he'd sit back and he'd watch. Well, can you imagine taking a family of 5 in an old Pontiac, 3,000 miles across the country, and just no cell phones, no GPS, nothing like that. Back roads, Dad didn't like the main roads, he liked the short way. And we end up somewhere in the Midwest, and Dad got a call from his work, and his boss had died. Dad had to fly back. So now we got Mom, and we got Sue, we got Steve, we got Philip, and we got me. And we got to make our way from Kansas City to Denver. And we end up somewhere in Kansas City, a flat place. And we set up our tent. Everybody had done their job. And Steve and I decided, well, we're going to go down to the playground. We're going to see what these Kansas City boys got going on down there. And Mom said, take your brother with you. I said, oh, Mom, come on. It's all right, Philip, come on. Philip's a low fellow, 5 maybe, 5. And Steve and I pretty hard on him. That's why he turned out so good. So we take Philip down there, and sure enough, we ran into some Kansas City roughnecks down there, about our age. And they had a little guy down there. And they started talking about how tough that little fellow was. We said, oh, you didn't see nothing. We got a boy here from Albemarle County. He is the toughest guy in the entire country. They said, not tough as that fellow. Oh, yes, he is. So, we did it. I still feel bad. Steve and I threw him right in the ring. 5 years old, like a trained dog, Philip beat that boy and won it. And of course, Philip got torn up doing it. He took his licks. After the fight was over, the boy said, "Give." Steve and I put Philip back up on our shoulders, and we went dancing back to the campsite. And that's where one of his nicknames was born. You may not know this particular nickname for Philip, but American Mahone. Steve and I called him American Mahone. Bob Lau made up a song about it later. Maybe we'll sing it for you back at the reception. We got in that campground and Mom looked at us and said, "What in the world? What has happened to Philip? Bleeding, his clothes are falling off, he's cut up, he's smiling." We said, "Mom, he's the toughest boy in the entire state. He beat every boy here in Kansas." It's the only real time I remember my mom getting really, really mad at me. She chased Steve and me back in the tent, and we didn't get any supper. Didn't speak to us the rest of the night. But that kind of goes to tell you that Dad have his family around him all the time. He loved his children. And the amount of trouble it would take to go across the country and do that, and the kinds of things you could get into when he wasn't looking. Dad loved his birthday parties. Most of you all in here have been to one of his birthday parties, and his birthday parties were a special thing. At Dad's birthday parties, there was a cake. Dad would sit at the front of the table, and the family would gather around, and I mean the family like you see in here. Hundreds of us. Cousins, aunts, brothers, uncles, sisters, kids, children. Did we get to see Dad would sit at the front of the cake would be put in front of him, and Dad would start to sing, "Happy birthday to me," and we would all sing it. Verse 1, finally, we're ready to blow out the candles. No, he picks up the cake and he starts walking around the table. "Happy birthday to me." Okay, once around the table, good enough, let's eat. No, around the house he goes, "Happy birthday, dear David." Around the house, out the house, down the driveway, up and down the neighborhood. Dad would be walking with his cake. All of us following him like the Pied Piper. Neighbors would say, "David Mahone's having a party." Look out there. They got the whole family, so many of them, following him. And that was the way he was. Follow me. Dad, I will show you the way. Here recently, over Thanksgiving, his grandson Tyler was playing baseball this year. His dad loved baseball, coached it for many years. Many of you here played for him. Thank you for coming. And Dad couldn't get around too well. I want Steve and Susan to know this. After Thanksgiving, Dad, we had talked about Tyler's baseball schedule. Dad says to me, he says, "You know, Tom, Tyler's game it's going to be pretty easy to go to. I'm going to go to those games." It was his way of telling me, "Get yourself ready, we're going to those games." He wanted it, and I said, "Yes, Dad, we'll be going to all of them." It was important for him to be there. Sue, on Christmas Day, you don't know how much joy you gave your father. We were all sitting around. Dad was in the nursing part of Westminster, Canterbury. And we'd go down there in shifts and visit with him. The whole family was in Mom's apartment. So Sue and Allison, Steve, Richard and I go down there in one shift, and Sue gets here and, "Dad, I forgot your present." So he said, "Okay." So she visited a while and she said, Daddy, I'm going to go get you a present. And I said, Dad, you want me to time? Dad said, yeah, you time. Well, Sue headed on back to the apartment. She'd get distracted. We'd party back at the apartment. About every 10 minutes, people come in and out. How's Sue doing? That's what Dad would say. How's she doing? When she finally walked back in the room, Dad looked over at me and said, how long? I said, 1 hour, 39 minutes, Dad. And he laughed. Dad was always there for everything we did. Philip was in a tournament, a local city tournament over at Meadow Creek. And it was the final day, and of course Philip was in the hunt. Philip had an opportunity to win that tournament. He did several times. But this particular one was about 5 years ago, probably. And Dad was still driving his automobile a little bit. And so I was over there watching Philip. It was Sunday. He was on the 5th green, real tense. Had a local following around him. And I'm standing up on the hill and watching Philip. And here comes Dad, walking up the 5th fairway. And in his hand he has a 3-legged collapsible stool. And he walks up to the green and he sets that stool up. And he sits down on that stool. And over backwards he goes. And he goes tumbling down the hill. I said, oh my gosh, you gotta get him. And Philip looks over at me and said, you know, you gotta go get him with that. I went and gathered him up. We got a golf cart and took him around. It didn't matter what we were doing, what any of his family was doing. He was going to be there. I'd like to close with something that I've had the great privilege to have a front row seat in my 56 years. And that's the most remarkable love story I've ever seen. Any of you have met Dad, within 3 minutes of meeting Dad, you knew that his wife's name was Greg. The love that my father had for my mother and the love that she had for him was God-given. It was remarkable and it was spectacular. Dad tells a story, said that he used to be a great ladies' man. He used to play the field, a lot of girlfriends. But all that changed the day Grace walked in the room in the 3rd grade. And Dad told that story all the time. You know, I met your mother in the 3rd grade. I said, Dad, I heard that when I was 2. Everybody. Yeah, we've been going together ever since. One of the things that my life has been blessed with, honored with, in the last few years I had an opportunity to be with Mom and Dad. We'd be going someplace, just the 3 of us, driving someplace. And just kind of sit around, kind of clamp my mouth shut and just listen. And I'd be driving, Dad in the front seat, Mom in the back seat. And what did they do? Small talk. Small talk all the time. Now here they've been together for 80 years by Dad's man. And they never ran out of anything to talk about. They love talking to each other about nothing. All the time. It was so heartwarming. Back in the summer, Dad got in one of those little motorized scooters. And Dad had Parkinson's, as you know, and his mobility had declined. But the motorized scooter was a good thing because it could break it down and put it in the trunk and take him places, and he could scoot around. Todd's daughter, Rachel, had a wedding down in Raleigh. Dad, oh, I'm going. He said, okay, not a problem, Dad. Got your scooter, we're going to go to Raleigh. Rachel's a smart girl, thoughtful. And she had everything lined up down there in Raleigh. The hotel downtown, the wedding venue, couple blocks, the reception venue, a few more blocks. Got down there, set up that scooter, and Dad was ready. So, the wedding was at one place, and the reception was about 3 to 6 blocks away, maybe 4 or 5 blocks away. Too far for Mom to walk. Rachel had this thing in Raleigh where she set up these rickshaws, these bicycle rickshaws. Rickshaws pulling up to the wedding venue. Take the people that needed to have a ride to the reception from the wedding venue. And I went out, Alice and I went out early in the morning, recorded everything, and I said, well, the wedding's here. It's here. I had a great plan, set this plan up. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the rickshaw, we're going to put Mom in the rickshaw. And the rickshaw's going to take Mom to the reception. And I'm going to come along with Dad in his scooter, and we'll be at the reception. That was a great plan. Well, things got a little different because we put Mom in the rickshaw. Well, Aunt Frances needs to get in the rickshaw, so Aunt Frances gets in the rickshaw. So now we get another rickshaw. We got to get Aunt Mary up in that rickshaw. To get Aunt Mary up in the rickshaw, you got to get Mom up in the rickshaw. You got to get Alice up in the rickshaw and run everything. So now we have 2 rickshaws. I told Dad the whole plan. This is what we're going to do. So we got them all ready. The rickshaws are ready. And so go ahead, and the rickshaws start going down Main Street, downtown Raleigh. Dad saw that, and his eyes got that big around. He floored that scooter out into the middle of the street. He went. Cars slamming on the ground. People swerving. He got that scooter, boom! Running after Mom. I'm running after him. Dad! Dad, stop! And he reached back over his shoulder while he was going down the road. She's getting away! I finally caught up to him and I said, no, Dad, she's not.